The wind over Dead Horse Ridge carried the kind of cold that sank straight into a man's bones, the kind of cold that made you question why you stayed in a place so far from the comfort of soft voices and warm hearths. But for Daniel Carter, the lonely rancher whose hands were as rough as the rope he worked and whose heart had been empty for longer than he cared to count, there was no other place left. His days were measured by the creak of the windmill, the lowing of cattle, and the slow march of sun over the endless horizon, until one evening, as he rode the fence line on the far southern pasture, he saw movement. A wagon half sunk in the mud, a horse gone lame, and beside it, a woman clutching 3 young girls to her skirts, their faces pale with cold, their eyes wide and searching. She was dressed in worn calico, her bonnet tilted low, but even in the fading light Daniel could see the tired strength in her stance, the way she stood like she'd been holding herself up for years without anyone's help. He rode closer, tipping his hat, and asked if she needed assistance, but her jaw tightened and she shook her head. Not out of pride, but out of the hard habit of a woman who'd been told she had no place to lean. Her name was Evelyn Harper, and the girls, Mary, Jane, and little Ruth, were her daughters, each no older than 10. Their father, she said flatly, had sent them away 2 days past, after she'd given birth to her 3rd daughter and no sons, declaring her useless in front of the whole settlement before tossing her into the road with nothing but a wagon and a crippled horse. Daniel felt something hot rise in his chest, a quiet fury at the cruelty of men who measured worth in the wrong coin. But he kept his voice gentle, offering her shelter at his ranch until she could decide her next move. Evelyn hesitated, her eyes flicking to her girls as though afraid of the trap in any kindness, but the youngest clung to his stirrup with cold numbed fingers, and that settled it. Within the hour, they were by his hearth, the scent of coffee and cornbread filling the cabin as the girls thawed in front of the fire. The first days were quiet, Evelyn keeping to herself, rising early to mend clothes and sweep floors, as though paying for her keep with every stitch, but Daniel watched her. Watched the way her shoulders relaxed when she thought no one was looking, the way her girls' laughter began to return like timid birds in spring. He'd been alone so long he'd forgotten what it sounded like to hear life inside his walls, and he realized he didn't want to lose it. One frosted morning, he found her outside hanging laundry, her breath misting in the air, and without thinking, he said, "You belong here." She froze, the sheet twisting in her hands, and he stepped closer, his voice low but steady. "You and those girls. You belong with me." Her eyes filled, not with the softness of romance, but with the aching disbelief of someone who'd been unwanted for so long she'd stopped imagining any other truth. She told him she had nothing to give but work and loyalty, and he told her that was all a man could ask for. Over the weeks, the cabin became their home. Not his and theirs, but ours. Evelyn tending the kitchen garden, Daniel teaching the girls to ride, laughter chasing away the ghosts that had lived in the corners. Word traveled, of course, as it always did in towns where whispers were as common as dust, and her former husband came riding one day, demanding she return, sneering at Daniel's defense. The confrontation was brief. Daniel didn't raise his voice, didn't even rise from where he sat on the porch, but the look in his eyes sent the man turning back down the trail, muttering curses. From that day on, no one questioned where Evelyn belonged, and in time, she came to believe it herself. And if you, friend, believe there are still places in this world where the cast out and the unwanted can find a home, where worth isn't measured by the ignorant, then saddle up with us. Subscribe now, because there are more Wild West stories waiting to remind you that some folks are worth fighting for.